If Dean's appearances on the series were milestones for Dean, the final episode might have been an even greater one, too, both professionally and personally. He recalls his reaction to the end of Little House.
I just remember when we walked through this, it was just this numbing, you wanted to feel, I wanted to feel so much, I just felt sort of just really shut down inside because it was just over.
Everything became an event. There's the last, whatever it was, the last wardrobe change, the last close-up, the last, lunch, the last take, the last time I had the bonnet up, the last time I had the bonnet down. I mean, everything was very, even the most minuscule details were really, really important that week.
On the one level, you have a kind of bravado that says that everything's going to be fine. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I've got a following, and, it's not going to be any problem. I mean, everybody gets canceled, and I'm going to be fine, is the front side. Because you don't want to let anyone feel that there's a problem. No one wants to see that you're afraid. Underneath all that, you're afraid.
With the script in their hands, Melissa and Dean remember the episode's pivotal scenes, especially the ones which forced the normally tranquil Wilders to contemplate the possible violence of self-defense.
I'm finished with the dishes. Are you coming up?
In a few minutes.
Why are you cleaning that rifle? Oh, this is strange. Why are you cleaning that rifle?
Beth, we've been all through this.
You've been through it. I asked you not to buy it, and you went right ahead and did it anyway.
Beth, I'm not going to let someone come in here and just take away my property.
He's not going to take it away. He said you could work on it same as always.
It's mine. It's not his. I'm not going to be a slave on my own property.
And you'd use that gun to stop him. Answer me!
Yes! Yes, I would if I had to.
But the last farewell would bring down the curtain on this magical place forever. In 1984, Michael Landon overheard producer Kent McRae talking about the need to remove or demolish the long-standing Little House sets.
He said, what do you mean, you have to take them all down? And I said, yeah. He says, don't do anything yet. So he came back about 2 hours later. And he says, what if I write a show where we blow up the buildings? I said, okay. That's how it started. Now, from there, we had to do tests. Mike wanted to see what kind of explosion. With Luke, our special effects man, you never really knew what you were going to get till it happened.
The episode tells of the town's rebellious reaction upon learning that a greedy land baron has acquired the land under their little settlement.
The fact that Lassiter and Company owns the property upon which this town has been built.
Now, wait a minute. What is all this talk about? You want something? What is it?
There's no reason for you not to go on working just as you've always worked, sir. The only difference is that you'll be working for me as salaried employees.
What is he talking about? Right.
I think one of the great things about that final episode, too, was having Mike and Karen back. I think it was really important for us to have that kind of closure and to have a chance to be together and, really say goodbye.
I was so proud of you tonight.
You should have been. I kind of reminded myself of you.
Me?
Yeah, you. All my life I wanted to be like you. So you see, I'm the one who should be proud. Because if I didn't have a mom like you, I wouldn't be me.
couldn't have done it without us.
That we would be allowed to do a scene like that where the women are talking about how, how strong we were and how we couldn't have done what we did without the men, because it's usually the reverse of that. It's interesting. It's very forward thinking of Michael and kind of surprising.
But as the plot unfolds, tenderness turns to conflict.
I said this is my place, and I want you off of my land.
You're being rather foolish.
Get off this property now.
Breaking the windows. I remember because, I very rarely got to do anything as Laura that had even the slightest tone of civil disobedience to it. I was spunky. I got into some trouble in some situations, but by and large a good kid. So the breaking of the windows was very symbolic of, a real turning point for Laura.
At the series' penultimate moment, old friends decide they would rather destroy their town than surrender it to the robber barons.
Listen here. You want to do more than bust a couple of windows? I got a wagon at my place loaded to the gills with dynamite for the mine.
All right, by God. Lassiter wants to kill our town. The least we can do is bury it. Now, what do you say?
Thus, writer-director Michael Landon served the practical end of striking the sets and the dramatic end of creating gut-wrenching tragedy for the characters.
Exterior Welder's house morning. Laura moves down the walk, turns and looks back, then continues to where Almanzo, Jenny, Rose, and Montague wait. They look at each other in silence. Laura nods to Almanzo.
Michael was brilliant. In his head, he sees the wire and the leads and the attaching and the screwing down and the screwing down and the click, 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 click. When you read it, there's none of that on the page.
He moves to the plunger, hesitates, then presses it down.
As ever, Reverend Alden was the voice of the town's soul and conscience.
Dear Lord, we bury a friend today. This town has been our friend. It's made us a family. It's kept us together. Wherever we go in this world, we will always remember Walnut Grove. It will always be home to us. One of the most touching days of my life was the day we blew up. And I get choked up talking about it, I'm sorry. The day we blew up the town, and the first shot in the morning was blowing up the mill. And we had, I think, 4 cameras or 5 cameras working, some in slow motion and some in stuff. And it blew up that shot. And I turned to Mike in tears, both of us. We had spent 10 years of your life shooting the show. And it became part of you.
everywhere. I mean, I stood and looked at all the buildings, or all of the rubble. My mother has a picture of me standing by the sign in the middle of town, and I'm just sobbing. I mean, you can clearly see that I've been crying. This is kind of a cruel picture of me standing there, just puffy-eyed, holding a tissue. And then there's a picture of Karen and I hugging each other, and again I'm crying. And I wandered around from building to building and said goodbye. It was interesting too how everybody sort of got to feel whatever they were feeling at that moment, and Michael just let us have it. You know, if you were crying, you were crying, and if you were stunned, you were stunned. If he didn't try to direct anybody.
Right to the end, Little House remained true to its consistent thematic point, that through any tragedy, any grief, any loss, family, faith, hope, and love will ever show the way.
I think that the Little House on the Prairie fans felt a certain sense of righteous closure with the end of the show, with the way that we chose to do it. And I think that what is extraordinary about the show is that regardless of how it ends, it still goes on, which is exactly what Michael said to me, pretty much the last words on the last day when we said goodbye, and he said to me, it's not an end, it's just a beginning. And he was right.
As I was walking away from Walnut Grove with Melissa today, I was so struck by the fact that the buildings may be gone, but the spirit of Walnut Grove will always be here.